Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Hong Kong and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel many times before. Now, I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last couple of years, quite a few different styles, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are pretty solid all round, and they're also very experimental. They do lots of different styles, as I said, and they always find some really interesting things to put in their beer as well, different adjuncts and so on. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is a style that I haven't tried from this brewery before. It's a style that I really do quite enjoy, one that we don't get to review all that often actually, and it's also one of this brewery's latest releases too, and it's supposed to be very nice. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to stick to Hong Kong like I said. We are going to stay on the Kowloon side, and we're going to go kind of round the bay, if you like, to an area called Tong, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Heroes Beer Company. So this particular beer is called Got Rice. It comes in at 4.8% ABV, and this one is a Japanese rice lager, and it's also one of the first new beers, I think maybe the first new beer that Heroes are releasing in Hong Kong that was brewed over in Japan. They're doing a little bit of contract brewing over there now at the Hitachino facility in Ibaraki Prefecture, north of Tokyo. But yeah, this one was released within the last couple of weeks, one that I've been meaning to review for a little bit, but one that I was quite excited to get a hold of. So yeah, I love a Japanese rice lager. There's not too many of these around. At the moment, they were getting popular for a wee while, maybe 2 years ago or something like that. But yeah, cool to see Heroes have a go at one of these. I haven't had too many lagers from Heroes over the years either. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. Supposed to be very good, this. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Heroes Beer Company before, and there will no doubt be more added to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated. And remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist along with a number of other things. And that's being added to quite regularly, of course, since I am now based here in Hong Kong. But do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Heroes Beer Company then. So Heroes Beer Company was founded by three guys: Chris Wong, who is very well known in the Hong Kong beer scene, along with his childhood friends Jason Lowe and Angus Ip. So the idea behind this brewery is to produce beers in collaboration with different beer enthusiasts, food producers, and various people, if you like. That's the whole idea behind Heroes Beer Company. Chris says that he felt the real owners of a craft brew are its fans, and he wanted to give them a say in the kind of beers that he was producing. That was the sort of founding mantra of Heroes Beer Company, and in the early days, and I think maybe still to an extent today, they say that they're giving beer enthusiasts the chance to be a sort of superhero of the craft beer world. But Chris is a former accountant who moved to Hong Kong from the US for work, and he went on to found HK Brewcraft and later Carbon Brews, while also working to brew for Hitachino Nest from Japan, the Kyuchi brewery. But Jason is another co-founder of HK Brewcraft, and he has a background in finance, development and project management, and he was also serving as president of the Hong Kong Craft Beer Association. He's the general manager of the company and also a certified beer tester and cicerone. But likewise, Angus Ip is a fellow co-founder of HK Brewcraft, and he has a background in software engineering and finance. But over the years, these guys have developed a sort of core range of beers which are fairly readily available across Hong Kong, and they're still producing some smaller experimental batches as well, like this one, but I'm guessing this one was quite popular, so I'm sure they might end up doing it again. But the recipes are developed on a small 200-litre system in the Heroes facility in Tong, which, like I say, is over in the kind of Kowloon city area, around the other side of the bay from the main part of Kowloon, and a number of their other beers were brewed for a period at the Carbon Brews facility in Fotan, but they are brewing quite a number of their beers now at the Kyuchi facility over in Ibaraki Prefecture in Japan, which is where Chris actually did a lot of work with Hitachino. That was where he learned to brew, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, quite interesting times ahead for these guys, because from what I understand, they are going to start producing more abroad and start kind of spreading the brand around a little bit. But as of March 2025, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 100 different beers according to Untappd, and many of these have been produced by the Heroes, a number of whom are home brewers, of course, and there have been other ones that have been like different food producers. There was the Japanese guy recently who was producing different bacterial cultures and things like that. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff available from Heroes Beer Company. These guys are potentially the most experimental of the craft breweries here in Hong Kong. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Heroes Beer Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on then and have a wee look at the beer itself. So as you can see, this one is a 350 milliliter can, slightly bigger than the standard 330 because it has been produced in Japan, and you can see the Japanese markings on this one. What does it say? It says osake desu, yeah, alcohol. So yeah, 350 milliliters, which is a standard Japanese measurement. This one uses Soriachi Ace hops and also Nishiki, Yamada Nishiki rice, which is produced in Hyogo Prefecture, just round the bay from Osaka. Kobe is the most well-known city in Hyogo, of course. So yeah, really nicely presented, this one. I have to say, I do like the artwork on this, but I hope, if this is good, I do hope that Heroes keep up the production of this one, because I do enjoy a good Japanese rice lager. But yeah, 4.8% ABV, this one. I don't think we need to say too much else about it. Let's get it out into the glass and see what it's all about. So, let's do this. That looks good. There we go. Yeah, I have to say, that does look very nice. So before the head disappears, we can say that this beer poured with somewhere between a half finger and a 2/3 finger of quite a soapy, perfect white head. I'll bring that up to the camera just so you can have a little look there. You can see medium-sized bubbles on the surface there, and it does get a little bit soapier the further up that you go, and the head is just fading away to be a nice kind of thin foamy layer there. But all in all, it looks really nice. In terms of the colour of this beer, pale golden straw I think is a good way to describe this one. You can see the little particles of rice just floating around in this one, which is quite nice. I do like that. You can see there's just tiny little bits of particulate matter there. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But of course, with most lagers, you don't really have to care about that. It's only certain Doppelbocks and icebox and things where you really have to care about that. But yeah, not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. It looks pretty much as you would expect from a Japanese rice lager. It looks, you know, a similar colour to a German Helles lager or a Czech Schwettli lager, I would say. So yeah, nothing else we really need to say about this one. It's got a nice little bit of natural haze to it because of the, I guess, because of the rice particles and things like that. But yeah, all in all, it looks really nice. One thing I should point out as well, as I say, Soriachi Ace is a hop that was originally cultivated in Japan. It gives you this really distinctive kind of almost lemony, yuzu-y type character to it. But a lot of it is now kind of grown in America. I'm really not sure how much the Japanese are still producing themselves, but a number of places are trying to cultivate different hop varieties, which is going to be interesting to see going forward. And the Yamada Nishiki rice is actually quite a famous one in terms of sake production. You'll find a lot of different sake producers over in Japan are releasing, they sort of put this, they always put this on the label, the Yamada Nishiki is a very, very famous sake rice actually. But yeah, I think we said everything we need to about the appearance of this one. You can see the head has faded away to be a nice thin foamy layer now. So let's have a wee look at the aroma and just see what we get out of this. I'm very, very curious, as I said. Oh yeah. Very mild aroma, this one, but it's giving you everything that you would kind of expect of this style. Now, I will say straight away, the Japanese rice lagers are they're not the most flamboyant of styles. It's not the most flamboyant beer style, if you like, but if these are done right, they're just really, really nice drinkable beers. And especially if you think about how hot Japan and Hong Kong as well can get in the summer, these things can be really, really nice to drink. It's very refreshing. But yeah, this gives you everything you'd want. You've got a bit of that kind of ricey, oily, sweet character in there. You've got a little bit of biscuit and stuff, some nice green component in there. It is really, really nice. Let's just break that down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, if you like. Oh, it does smell good. But yeah, so the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely little bit of like fresh white bready bread crust in there. That's to be expected. There are little hints of like woodiness and crackery character in there. Little bits of white bread as well, in honesty. So yeah, you've got that little bit of white bready character in there. And you can smell at the back of the nose, you can smell a little bit of a kind of Pilsner malty crispness in there. And a wee bit of the biscuity sweetness that you would expect from that as well. But it's not too dry actually. The fact that this is a rice lager is kind of almost moistening up the aroma a little bit. So yeah, you can smell in the centre of the nose, mixed in with that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing. You can really smell that nice oily character coming out of it. So the sweet, the Yamada Nishiki rice, when it comes to the sakes and things like that, you're looking at, sort of gooseberry notes and things like that. So within the kind of ricey notes that are in the middle of the nose with this beer, you really smell that slightly kind of gooseberry and floral note to the rice as well, I would say. That's, to me, is quite obvious in this one. But so you have got this little bit of sake type note to the beer. A lot of people, I think, would use that descriptor of this one. It smells a little bit like Japanese sake. Yeah, the aroma of this is it's really, really nice. Yeah, the ricey character comes out of it more and more the more that you smell of it, I have to say. The yeasty side of things in this one, so the yeast at the back of the nose is quite like a kind of a mixture of like slightly Pilsner malty type character, but a bit more of a kind of white bready sort of note. And again, I really like that in this one. I have to say that about this beer. I really do like the sort of the kind of ricey note that it has. Yeah, I don't know if there's too much else to say about the yeasty side of things. It's got a little bit of wood, a little bit of cracker, and yeah, kind of fluffy, white bready sort of note coming out of this one. So yeah, I like that for sure. On the, I think we said everything we need about the malty and yeasty side of things. Then on the hoppy side of things, I would suspect actually that this beer has a little bit of noble hop in it as well. Like it does have a bit of that kind of German smoothness to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of like Hallertau Mittelfrüh or something like that in here. The reason I say that is you've got a lovely little touch of like smooth earthiness. So yeah, wee bit of that kind of smooth earthiness in there, a little bit of woodiness too, some floral aromaticity, and a lovely wee bit of there's a lovely wee bit of grassiness and things in this one too. So yeah, it does have a little bit of that in there, but you know, the Soriachi Ace is also going to give you that. You can smell that slightly stronger lemony character from the Soriachi Ace in here too. But yeah, a little bit earthy, little touch woody, maybe herbal, but yeah, nice floral amethyst and grassness. And the slightly more zesty notes in that green component are absolutely going to come from the Soriachi Ace. I think the Soriachi Ace is normally about 10 or 12% alpha acid actually. But yeah, fruity side of things then with this one, just to round off. The fruity side of this beer for me, again, you've got that quite slightly sharper lemony yuzu note. That comes out right at the front of the nose next to the kind of grassy esters for sure. But beyond that, you have got a little bit of, yeah, you've got wee things like oily pear in here, a wee touch of dried, yeah, you've got a wee touch of dried apricot. Yeah, there's dried apricot in there, oily pear, gooseberry, all of these kind of things. These are things that you would expect of this particular beer style. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But if you are, like me, a fan of Japanese sake, I think you will enjoy what is going on with this one. But yeah, this one is, I think it's about time to try this. This is the Got Rice, a 4.8% Japanese rice lager from Heroes Beer Company in Yaotong, Kowloon City here in Hong Kong. This one brewed over in Japan with Yamada Nishiki and Soriachi Ace hops. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers, kanpai. Ooh, yeah, that is nice. It's interesting because it's actually one, the first impression I have of this one is that it's one of the more kind of dry, it's one of the more dry and bitter Japanese rice lagers that I've come across actually. I've not had one of these in a wee while. But yeah, certainly, first impression this one, it does have a good little bit of impact flavour to it. So yeah, I'm getting a wee bit of bitterness there, and that's, again, the Soriachi Ace, and you can feel the pungency of that Soriachi Ace in there. But I'm also getting quite a little bit of dryness and bite from what I suspect is Pilsner malt. But yeah, it is a nice beer, this one. One thing I would say about it is this is going to be dangerously easy to drink. So, you know, Heroes always use the 350 milliliter cans, but I would say if they're going to produce this one on a bigger scale, do it in half-litre cans. And yeah, do it in the half-litre cans rather than the 350s. But yeah, that's a very, very minor criticism actually. 350 mils is a common measurement in Japan. But more and more breweries, right enough, are using the 500 mils, so that's worth keeping in mind. But yeah, all in all, good first impression of this one. Now, one thing to remember, of course, is that lager beers are, you know, bottom fermented using cold temperature yeast fermentation. So yeah, these are usually fermented between 8 to usually about 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, something like that. So yeah, these take a little bit longer to make. So actually getting a really good Japanese rice lager or any type of lager, it's quite a technical feat, if you like. And yeah, Heroes have done a very good job of this one. I've not seen too many lagers from Heroes. The standard one, the BEER, just beer, that is very nice as well. But this is quite different to that actually, more bitter and even lighter in its body, I would say. So again, thumbs up to Heroes Beer Company. This kind of speaks and shows you how good a brewer Chris Wong is. So, you know, kudos to him for this. I really like this. But yeah, I'm going to have to sip this one for the purposes of the review. It's so easy to drink. But yeah, maybe I should have got 2 cans of it, right enough. But yeah, middle third of your palate then. Let's break this beer down and describe the flavour for you more in depth. The backbone of the beer, you've got a lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. And yeah, that forms the backbone of your beer. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a wee touch of woodiness in there, and that comes out into the aftertaste. Above that you get the Jacob's Cream Cracker, which I think is nice. You can feel that sort of cream crackery note into the aftertaste. And you do get a wee bit more graininess and dryness out of this one into the aftertaste as well, that's for sure. So above that, you get the layer of kind of fluffy white bread from the barley malt. And then you can feel the kind of Pilsner malty bready layer there. So as I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. So yeah, the more kind of the dry and bitter flavours in this one from the, well, is it right to call it bitter? The dry flavours from the Pilsner malt are more apparent further back on the palate there. So within that kind of Pilsner malty layer that you have, you can feel more bite at the back of that middle third of your tongue. So yeah, above the above the Pilsner malty layer, or the kind of Pilsner malty bready layer, I should say, you start to get the both the rice and the sweeter side of the beer. So it's almost like there's a kind of circle in the middle of your palate there where you can feel the oily side of the Yamada Nishiki rice. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. For me, yeah, the oily ricey character in there is quite it gives you a little bit more sweetness into the aftertaste, and I'm feeling that it is quite floral actually, and that sort of builds a good bridge with the kind of bite that the Pilsner malt has. But in the dead centre of your palate, you can feel that little circle there where it's more like a kind of concentrated, it's a concentrated sort of biscuity type flavour. So yeah, there's a sort of concentrated biscuity concentrated biscuity type flavour coming out of this one in the dead centre palate, and that is of course the boozy side of the beer. But yeah, the Pilsner malt, the bite of the Pilsner malt in this one really does get stronger and stronger into the aftertaste, but there's quite a wee bit of hoppy bitterness in there as well, which is worth bearing in mind. But yeah, I think we've said everything we need to about the middle third of the palate then with this one. Let's go to the back third of your palate. As I've often said, back third of your palate is going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, but just at different intensities. So yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You can feel the there's a wee touch of an almost kind of brown bready character in the base, but then yeah, you've got the fluffy barley malt bread in there, then the more kind of bitey Pilsner malt above that. But the base of that back third of the palate, you've got more of the you've got the bread crusty kind of notes in there, which are a little bit drier. Of course, you've got the cracker above that, the kind of barley malt white bread, that layer is a bit lighter, taller and more airy. Then above that you have the kind of Pilsner malty dry bready character in there, which again is a little bit taller, lighter, more airy, but drier of course. And yeah, then above that it's all about the yeast. So let's have a wee look at the yeasty side of the beer in this one. And I will say, if you gulp this beer, you get more sweetness out of the sake rice in this. But yeah, yeasty side of the beer on the back third of your palate, you can feel it's a little bit like brown bready at its core and kind of more white bready around the edge, and it feels a little bit more kind of like a Pilsner malt or kind of bread crusty character around the very, very edge of the beer. But yeah, definitely back third of your palate, you can feel that the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and compresses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that the beer goes together in that regard is really nice. The malty and yeasty side of this one is really nicely done, but definitely a bit more Pilsner malty and dry leaning than some beers I've had in this this category before. So that's interesting. But yeah, hoppy side of things then. Like I said earlier, this beer does have a good wee bit of bitterness to it. Back corners of the palate, you do get a little touch of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, there's a wee touch of almost piney resin underneath that. And yeah, as you reach the front corners of your palate, it's got a little bit more kind of floral aromaticity and a sort of spiciness to it. But round the front curve of the tongue, the beer is definitely lighter and more grassy, I would say, and a little bit zesty too. That is the work of Soriachi Ace, of course. So yeah, green component on this one does have a fair presence to it, I have to say. But yeah, let's have a little look at the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things just to round off. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You can feel the barley malt white bread underneath and the more pilsner malty crispness above that. The base of that, the base of that front third of your tongue is a little bit more, white bready bread crust, the crackers in there, and then you've got that, smoother white bread, and you can feel a wee bit of the rice creeping forward, but then you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. So the way that goes together, I think, is quite nice. So the fruity side of the beer is kind of what you'd expect, to be honest. Kind of what we were picking up in the aroma. So for me, there's a little bit of, at the back of that front third of your palate, there's maybe a little bit more of a, what would we say? I want to say there's a little bit of like dry apricot. So you've got a kind of drier apricot underneath. And you've got, so you've got a little bit of a drier apricot underneath. As you come further forward, it really gets more kind of gooseberry-like. And then, you've got that little bit of like yuzu-y, lemony sort of sharpness as you reach the front kind of tip of the tongue. Maybe into the aftertaste. Yeah, I think apricot, gooseberry, and that sort of yuzu-y, lemony type note that comes out of this one is what really makes it distinctive. I think that's a fair descriptor of what's going on in this beer, should we say. So all in all, flavour of this one's quite interesting, but this is certainly one of the more kind of pungently punchy flavoured Japanese rice lagers that I've come across. So gets a thumbs up from me. This one, I just wish it was a slightly bigger can, that's all I can say. But I think we've covered everything we need to about the flavour of this one. Let's round off with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So for me, mouthfeel wise, this beer, mouthfeel wise, this beer, it's light bodied. I'd say it's in the mid range of light bodied. Carbonation is very, very, it has a smoothing effect, but there is a degree of crispness to this one as well, and it's got a slight oily slickness to it, I would say, as well. So I like the way that goes together. In terms of IBU, this beer is a little bit heavier. So for me, I want to say it's got to be about 40 or 50 IBUs, this one. There is a wee bit of bitter bite to it, and of course the Pilsner malt crispness and the floral aromaticity of the rice in this one as well also kind of adds to that. The malt base is a bit drier underneath, smoother in the middle, and a little bit more oily and sweet on top of that. And then you've got a lovely little bit of kind of fruity character coming out of this too. So all in all, the way that this one pieces together, I think is it's really, really nice. So gets a big thumbs up to me. So Heroes produced another really nice beer, and as I say, I don't get to try too many lagers from these guys, but I am sufficiently impressed with this one. I'd love to see them have a go at like a Doppelbock and some of the traditional German stuff as well, because if they can do a Japanese rice lager like this, pretty sure they'll be able to do the other stuff quite well too. So let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Got Rice, a 4.8% Japanese rice lager with Yamada Nishiki rice from Hyogo and Soriachi Ace hops from Japan, from the wonderful Heroes Beer Company in Yaotong, Kowloon here in Hong Kong. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Heroes Beer Company as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, Slange, Skull, cheers, check out my social media, check out Heroes' social media, and we'll see you again in another review very, very shortly. Ciao just now.